I was in the heart of the city. Thick fog draped the streets like a ghostly veil. I, James Hargrove, wandered there with a weight of desperation on my shoulders. The eerie silence suffocated the very air around me, muffling each step I took. Days turned into weeks. I tirelessly searched for work, only to face rejection after rejection. Each one chipped away at my fragile hope. But as despair threatened to consume me, a glimmer of hope emerged from the fog. It was a phone call from the Enigma Corporation. The voice on the other end was smooth and almost hypnotic. It offered me a job that promised stability and potential. In fact, the message lacked specifics. But I clung to this lifeline. On my first day at the Enigma Corporation, I approached the imposing building. I felt both excited and nervous. The receptionist's gaze felt like ice. She led me through a maze of dimly lit corridors to my office. It was a small, nondescript room tucked away in a forgotten corner of the building. The walls were a dull shade of gray, adorned with faded posters and peeling paint. The only light came from a flickering bulb overhead. It cast long shadows that danced in the room's corners. Alone in my new workspace, I felt an uneasy sense of foreboding settle over me like a heavy blanket. As days passed, strange things began to plague the office more often. Objects would move inexplicably, and odd noises echoed through the halls at all hours. I tried to ignore the disturbances, telling myself they were just the quirks of an old building. But as time went on, the disturbances grew more pronounced. I would catch glimpses of shadowy figures out of the corner of my eye, only for them to vanish when I turned to look. I tried to explain the sightings. I blamed them on fatigue or stress. But I knew deep down that something more sinister was at play. I was desperate for answers, so I began to delve into the history of the Enigma Corporation. I hoped to find a clue to the source of the disturbances. What I found sent chills down my spine. The building had been a sanitarium. Society confined the mentally ill there, and then forgot about them. One evening, I ventured into the depths of the building. I found myself drawn to a secluded section. It was an old room at the end of a long, winding corridor. The air grew thick with tension as I approached, a sense of foreboding hanging heavy in the air. As I cautiously stepped inside, my breath caught in my throat at the sight before me. There, a figure cloaked in darkness stood in the center of the room. It was a ghostly apparition. It twisted its features in agony. Its eyes burned with a malevolent fury. My blood ran cold as I stared into the abyss of its gaze, paralyzed by fear and disbelief. The ghostly figure beckoned to me with a ghostly hand. Its voice was a haunting whisper that echoed in my mind. I could feel it seeping into my soul. It filled me with a primal terror unlike any I had known, driven by a mixture of fear and compassion. I reached out to the ghost, my hand trembling with uncertainty. To my surprise, the ghost did not recoil from my touch. Instead, it seemed to draw strength from it. Its ethereal form pulsed with an otherworldly energy. It was a final showdown. It tested my courage and resolve. I faced off against the dark entity that lurked in the shadows of the Enigma Corporation. I fought hard to banish the evil force. I sent it back to the depths of the netherworld. The dust settled and the echoes of my struggle faded into the darkness. I knew that I had finally found redemption. It was not just for me, but for the countless souls who had suffered at the hands of the Enigma Corporation. The night in the office, finally free from the chains that had bound it for so long. Emerging from the old room, battered but unbowed, I knew that my journey was far from over. I faced the future with a new sense of purpose. I had new hope that even in the darkest times, light would find a way to pierce the shadows.